Hello, in the next tutorial we will show you how to edit the front page of your website. Upon logging in and being greeted with your dashboard, we will use a mouse cursor to navigate to pages, and we will select all pages. Next, we are either able to search for the front page in the search bar, or we can scroll through the list until we locate it. As you can see, we have found the front page, and it is titled the front page. Hovering over it, we have additional options. We can edit block editor, classic editor, quick edit, trash, view, or edit with Elementor. Please note that we will select edit with Elementor, as this is the page builder that we are currently using. Please also note that this loading time is all dependent on your internet speed. The slower your internet, the longer this loading time will take. As you can see, the page is loaded, and the first thing we will do is use our mouse cursor to navigate across the page. As you can see, while we navigate across, there are certain sections that are highlighted in either a black or a blue border. There are three main elements that we will work with, and we will start with a section. Here, as you can see, we have currently highlighted a section, and it is giving us this indicator of a blue thin border. We will simply select Edit Section, and the window on the left hand side will appear. Here we can change our content width, column gap, our height, vertical alignment, overflow, and we can stretch the section. In our structure, we can see that we currently have 3 columns set up in this section. Moving on to our styling section, here we can change the background. At the moment we have nothing, but we can choose to add a classic color or an image. By selecting the color option, we can choose the color, and the color will appear here. However, we have images in front of it, so we cannot see this. We will then set that back to default, and the same can be done with an image. We can simply select Choose Image, and by default we are taken to our media library. Here we can choose an image that has already been uploaded, and we can insert it into the background. As you can see, again, we do not see the image, as we have other images sitting on top of this. When we add an image, we have additional options, such as changing the positioning, the attachment options, the repeat options, and the sizing options. We also have scrolling effects and the mouse effects. The enable particles, parallax, and this parallax we can ignore for now, as we do not need to fiddle with this. I will now remove this image, and we will continue to the background overlay. By selecting this, we have the option to add a background overlay to the normal status or the hover status. We will simply choose Classic, and we can choose the color of the overlay we wish. We can also add an image as a background overlay by simply selecting Choose Image and selecting the image we want to insert. As you can see, it showed a bit of the red there, while the images on top are still loading, showing that the red has come into effect. We will now remove these, set it back to default, and we will continue. Next, we have come to our border for this section. As you can see, we currently have a no border set, but we can change this by choosing solid, choosing the width we wish, as well as choosing the color. As you can see, this red border is only applied to this section, as that is the section that we are busy editing. We can also add a border radius, which you can see on the top left corner, will curve the edges. If we increase this, it will curve even more. I will now set this back to default, and we will continue. Next, we can also choose to have a border set for our hover effect. We'll simply choose hover, select the type, choose our width, choose our color, in this case I'll make it blue, and so forth. As you can see, the blue border is not there, but once we hover over the section, it appears. We will now set this back to default, and we will continue. Next, we have come to our shape divider, which we can add to the top or the bottom of the section. We will simply choose our type, and we will continue to customize it further, including the color, the width, the height, flipping the shape divider, as well as bringing it to the front. If I were to bring it to the front, we can see that the shape divider has appeared, and then when we edit it, we can see the results happen live, as seen here. We will set that back to default, and the same can be set for the bottom. Lastly, in the typography setting, you do not need to worry about this, as it's already been set up. Next, in our advanced section, Here we have our margin and padding, which you do not need to fill with, as we already have it set up for this page. Our schedule content sticky section we can ignore, as that is not needed on this website. Going on to motion effects, we can add a motion effect to this section by selecting the type, the entrance animation, my apologies. We will see that that whole section will have an entrance animation. We will remove that and we will continue. Our responsiveness, attributes and custom CSS you can ignore, as we already have this set up for you. That is how you would edit a section. We will now move on and we will edit one of the columns. As you can see here, we currently have 3 columns. We can see that we are going to edit a column by the thin dotted border appearing. By selecting the edit button, again the window on the left will appear, and here we can change the column width, vertical alignment, horizontal alignment, and so forth. In our styling section, here we can choose to change the background, and as you can see it is just as before. We can choose a color or an image, and we can customize it further once we have an image inserted. Next, in our background overlay, you can see that we have it set up the same as before. We will simply choose our background type and we will customize it further. Moving on to the border, here you can see that we do not have a border set on this column. However, it is the same as before, and we will select our type and customize further. Our typography section you can ignore, as this has already been set up. And then in the advanced section we have our margin and padding, which has already been sorted. As well as the rest of these sections you do not need to worry about. Now that we are done editing a column, we will edit an actual widget. Widgets are indicated by a thin blue border, and as you can see here we are going to edit the grid toolkit. By clicking the edit button, the window on the left will appear, and here we can change the title. Currently it is our work, however we can change it, and we will see the changes happen live, as seen there. We can also add to this or remove, as well as change the image. We will simply select choose image, and our media library will load. Here we will simply choose the image we wish, and we will select insert. I will now close this, and next we have come to our background color. As you can see, we have set it to a shade of grey, and we will keep it to this at the moment. Next we have also set the height for this widget at 342. We'll also have a link that when users select this section, my apologies, this widget, it will be taken to our work. Moving on to our styling side, here we can change the title of the color of the title, as seen here, as well as the typography, which will include the family font, size, the weight. We are able to transform the text, change the style, the decoration, the line height, and the letter spacing. Moving on, we have come to our short description, which we do not need to set up as we are only using a title in this. Our line description will be the line that appears here. We can simply change that color, as seen there. Lastly, in our advanced section, again, this includes our margin and padding, which you do not need to worry about, as well as a few other options. If we go to our background, my apologies, if we go to our border, we can see that we currently have a border type set to solid with a width of 5. If I were to increase it to 50, we can see that the width of this border has increased. We'll simply set that back to default, and we will continue. Our positioning you do not need to worry about, as well as the responsiveness, attributes, and custom CSS. Once we are happy with all the changes done on the site, we will simply hit update. One last thing I'd like to take your attention to is that each page has its own header and its own footer, meaning that if you edit the footer or the header on this page, it will not change on all the other pages. You will have to make the necessary change on each page. That is how you would edit the front page of your website.